Hey guys, I want to just talk with you actually today. This might be a little bit of a longer video, but I'm going to try to cut to the chase and really just execute this well so that it doesn't drag on. But there's a little bit of backstory that has to go into this video for you to understand really the purpose of it. So many of you guys write into me about relationships and about singleness and your season of being single. And I think a lot of that is because I have preached so much on singleness, like literally preached in multiple conferences around the country about singlehood. And God's vision for that and God's purpose for that. And I just want to let you guys know, just as a quick encouragement, for any of you that are in a season of singleness, please know that it is a purposeful season designed for you by God. Your season of singleness is just as much a calling on your life right now in this moment as it will be to be a wife or a husband or a business person or, you know, whatever that is. Being single is just as much a calling as anything else. So there's always a purpose in this season for you. It's not because God's overlooking you or because you are less than or because you're not wanted. That's not it. That's the enemy. It's because God is teaching you, growing you, sharpening you, and really essentially preparing you for a successful marriage, okay? So I just wanted to encourage you with that quickly before we dove into this. But anyways, you guys write me a ton about singlehood and about relationships in general and how do I know I'm ready? And I kind of want to actually flip that a little bit. And as I've been praying into your messages, and please know I can't respond to them one by one because I get so many, but I do have a team of people, including myself, that do read through them and pray over them, and we respond to the ones that we that are coming in, and I do that through video. So I do these as a reply all. But I want to flip that, and I want to maybe share something with you that would tell you that maybe you're not ready for marriage. And I want to use my life and my testimony and what God had to show me in that as the example and the premise for this. So many of you know that I was in a 7-year, very destructive on every level relationship. And I believed that I was going to marry that individual, and I loved them, and I literally was willing to throw away my calling to see them, I guess, make it, or to see them fulfill theirs. And I think that we learn very quickly in those situations that throwing away your calling for somebody else never helps them, it never benefits them, and it's really a plan of the enemy to destroy both people. And so after that relationship, ended, I had a lot of pain. I had a lot of resentment. I had a lot of bitterness. I had a lot of anger. I had a lot of hurt. And essentially, I was carrying a huge offense for many different reasons on many different levels. But the spirit of offense, nonetheless, is the same. And I don't think I quite knew that at first. And the way that it would come into me would be, I'm entitled to this. And that individual, along with other male figures in my life, had taught me that men could not be trusted, and that, men were selfish, and men, were superficial, and that men only wanted you for your physical attributes, or, everything in my life, the enemy would throw at me to confirm that offense. And so what I ended up doing out of that relationship was projecting that offense and that mindset onto essentially the entire male gender. So I think part of it in my mind was a protection. It was a defense mechanism because I was terrified to get hurt. So if I just assumed that every man was bad, then I would never have to put myself in a position to be hurt. And so that's what I did. But what I did, this is really, really dangerous, is I ended up making that offense a truth, right? So I began claiming that as a truth over the male gender as a whole. instead of recognizing that I was really walking in a spirit of offense. And I remember about a year ago or so, I was in prayer with the Lord. I was in a season of fasting with the Lord, and I was preaching a lot on singleness. And I kind of spent actually the majority of my year last year. I just felt that calling of the Lord to preach into singleness and to people in that season, and to get his heart and his mind and his vision for that. I as well am and was in a season of singleness also. But I had this whole idea since I was a little girl, right? Ever since I was a little tiny girl, I knew that I wanted to be a wife. It was one of the greatest desires in my heart. I fell in love with everything about that role and position. I wanted to be a wife. And so, I had this whole idea and this whole timeline figured out that by the time I'm 21, I'm going to be married. And when I'm 25, I'm going to start my family. And then my husband and I are going to have our home and our life together by the time I'm 30. And, we do that, right? We have this whole timeline and time frame of when we believe and we expect things to happen. And the problem with predicting your future, you really don't leave room for the expectation of God to show up. And so that's kind of what happened to me, is I assumed I knew it all. I assumed I knew what was best, when it was best, how it was best. And the Lord diligently rearranged that thought process for me. And it was not easy. In fact, it was a lot of pain. And having to dig up some of those those memories for me, and those experiences for me, and those heartbreaks for me that I never dealt with. I just pushed them down, and I kept my head forward, and I kept my head up, and I kept walking, because that's what you do, right? You just keep moving forward. So I had a lot of undealt with baggage, and I had a lot of undealt with wounds, and a lot of undealt with deceptions in my mind, not only about my life, about me as an individual, about God, about men, about marriage. I had a lot of misconceptions that I had based on my offenses and on my experiences that really were never from God. And so I went through this season of really seeking him out and asking the Lord, why, God, I feel like I'm ready for marriage. Why hasn't this season happened in my life yet? And the Lord spoke to me. And I believe that so many of us are in the same position, and this is why I'm doing this video. This isn't a feel-good video. This is real stuff, and a lot of stuff people don't want to talk about, and people don't want to tell you, because it doesn't make you feel fluffy and butterflies inside. It makes us deny our flesh and look inside our heart and say, Lord, search my heart and show me what's true. And it's not an easy thing to do. And how many of you know, when God is digging things out of you, and when he is uprooting things that have been in your life for so long, when you go to tend a garden, if you're going to rip out a weed in that garden, you're going to rip that thing out from the root. And for a second, it's going to be a little messy. How many of you know what I'm talking about? There's a little bit of mess on the top of that garden bed for a second. And that was one of my fears, is I was afraid to be vulnerable in front of God. I was afraid to let him essentially dig those things out of me. And one of the things that he showed me was, Allie, you are walking in a spirit of offense. And I'm not going to give you a man that you are going to destroy. And that was not easy for me. That was really hard for me to swallow. And it was true. I was walking in a spirit of offense, and I was projecting everything that I thought was true onto every single man I came into contact with. And so I would filter everything they said and did through the spirit of offense, not through the eyes and the heart of God. And the Lord told me, you're not ready to be a wife yet, because you are going to project your hurts and your wounds and your baggage and your deception and your offense onto this man. And that's not fair. That's not right. If I'm going to bring you the man of your dreams, I'm going to make sure you're also the woman of his dreams. And I'm not going to bring you into a relationship premature, Allie, when you don't know how to let go of this offense and you have unforgiveness in your heart. And so the Lord had to deal with that in me, and he had to rip those things out, and it was painful and it wasn't easy, and he walked me back through a lot of very painful memories and experiences, and that was hard for me to relive a lot of that, and it was hard for me to let go of the anger because I felt entitled to it, right? I was entitled to be hurt. I was entitled to be angry. And the Lord said, you know, Allie, it's okay to feel hurt. It's not okay to walk in an offense. You know, if I've forgiven you for your shortcomings, you know, for all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But it is by his grace that we get to walk in freedom and forgiveness. And he said, if I've forgiven you, how much more should you not forgive those people? It doesn't excuse what they did to you, but it does free you from it. And so I had to forgive that individual that I was in a relationship with. I had to forgive the different male figures in my life who had betrayed and lied and let me down. And that was hard, and I had to do it, and I had to do it genuinely. And it's not necessarily an overnight process. You know, sometimes you got to do it over and over and over until your heart matches what your words are saying. But I just want to really encourage so many of you. You know, God's not going to bring you a wife or a husband that you're going to destroy because you're walking in a spirit of offense from past relationships or from past friendships or from past experiences. You need to forgive those people, and you need to let God show you what he was doing in those situations, what he wants you to take from that, and how you can use that to better you in your marriage. That's something that I'm diligent about making sure God shows me, you know, how can I use that? The word says that he works all things for the good for those who love him. And so I believe that's true for every single person who chooses God over everything else. He will work those things for good, but you have to let him. So I just want to encourage you guys, offense is deadly, and it seeps into our life very sneakily in ways that we don't even realize sometimes, and you can carry it for years before you even know it's there. Don't give the enemy that foothold, and don't take it into your marriage. Don't take it into a relationship. God's not going to give you a wife or a husband you're going to destroy. So let God search your heart. Deal with that offense so that you get to walk into your marriage free and full of love and joy to give this person. And you're not carrying baggage that doesn't belong to them or to you for that matter. Okay? I love you guys. I know this was a long video. I'm going to hop off, but I really felt like that needed to be said today. So I love you guys. I'm always praying for you. I will talk with you soon. Bye.